When we have those long-term relationships where we've known each other for a very long time, we overlook where we are in the present moment with those people because of what we had with them in the past. And when you are evaluating your life, where you are, and the people currently in your life, you always have to evaluate it from the present moment. Okay, because you're no longer in the past and you're no longer that person that you were before. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel if you're watching me on YouTube, and welcome back to my podcast if you're listening to me over on Spotify. My name is Sade. Welcome to Hidden Alchemy. If it is your first time here, I am so grateful to have you. I am a wellness and holistic coach focusing on mind, body, and spirit practices to really help you alchemize and transform your life so that you are always moving from your highest potential. So, if you like the work that I have been doing so far, or if you end up liking this podcast episode, go ahead and check out more of my work on my YouTube channel. And then feel free to head over to my website where you can find my coaching services, my courses, as well as my openings for my astrology readings. All right, everyone. So, for today's podcast episode, we are diving into the topic of how to let go of outgrown relationships. And this is a topic that really will follow you through no matter where you are in your life, whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, even your 60s, and etc. We are always always here to be in relation with other people. That is what I believe personally helps to make life more bearable, to help make life more enjoyable, and also to help us learn about ourselves. It's so easy when you are by yourself to think that you are just this great, amazing, and perfect human being, which hopefully you think that about yourself. Hopefully you think great things about yourself, right? But it's really when we are in relation and commune with other people that we are really shown a mirror of our light aspects, our dark aspects, the areas of our life where we need to improve, and the areas of our life where we are great, we are loving, we are caring, and we are these amazing people. So I am a firm believer that relationships are one of the most important aspects of our life. And it has been proven that people live longer based off of not how much money you have and, of course, your health, but how good your relationships are, because our relationships affect our health theoretically, right? If you are a person that is in a lot of toxic relationships, it can affect your mental health, it can affect your nervous system, which will all then go ahead and affect your physical body. But if you have positive relationships around you, then this is going to help to bring a more happier life, a more joyful life, a more optimistic life. So it is so important to understand the people that are around you and the season that you are in, because the season that you are in is really going to determine the type of people that you need around you. And this is definitely something that I would say my 20s, I experienced it, but it really hit home towards the ending of my 20s and definitely in my 30s. I feel like, and I'm going to have a episode on this too, your Saturn return, that transition from 27 to about 31 is a huge transition in your life where you're going through such a big purge of understanding yourself, which will then change the way that you are in relation with other people. So before we go ahead and continue, go ahead, if you are watching this on YouTube, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know if this has been a theme for you of letting go of outdated relationships, how you have went about letting go of outdated relationships, and what you have learned from this process, because it is truly a learning process. Now, I'm going to go ahead and dive into myself. I am a person who I really did not know how to end relationships the best. I would definitely say I was a sloppy break upper. I was that person that would ghost you if I was no longer interested in you. And this is not just about romantic relationships, this is just relationships in general. Or I would stop talking to you if there was a problem. And that really stemmed from my own upbringing of not really being raised in a home where we talked about emotions and things that were really showing up internally that affects relationships. And it was through developing my spiritual practice, through therapy, through lots of just growing and learning and failing and fumbling that I've learned much better ways of how to cope with letting go of relationships that are no longer serving you. And for me, I had to first realize what season I was in order to understand who the people were around me and why people were around me. Because that's another thing. A lot of times we don't realize what's going on internally within ourselves because the shift is always happening internally. So, what season are you in internally? And who are the people around you and why are they around you? And an example of that is, for example, when I started to build my business last year, so in the year of 2023. But really, I was building my business without realizing I was building an actual business from 2020, and it wasn't until 2023 that I did the LLC. I did all of the political behind the scenes work, the admin work to have a solidified business. And it was during that time that I had to realize that I needed to have certain people around me, and in order to have those types of people around me, I needed to make more space for that. So I had to cut back on time that I was spending with people that gave me more comfort so that I could make more time for business relationships, and not just business relationships in terms of, these are only people that are useful in my life when it comes to business. But when you are an entrepreneur and you are a business owner, very similar if you are a new mom, if you are a new wife, right? A new husband, a new father, you have to surround yourself with certain people based off of the season that you are in. And that is something that I really had to realize towards the end of my 20s, like I said, and when I transitioned into developing a business was, I it's not that the relationships that I'm in are bad. It's just that the connection and the close proximity that we have, I kind of got to shift that now because I'm moving into a new season of my life. So I would say the first thing that has helped me to understand how to deal with outdated relationships, what relationships I'm in, is realizing what is the internal shifts that I have going on a personal level, right? And really sitting down, even if that's with a therapist, if that's with a healer, or if that's just with yourself, is just taking the time to realize, where are you in your life in this moment, and what do you need in your life in this moment, and getting very honest, because especially, I'm just going to bring this back to business, right? If you are a business owner, you want to build capital. So you have to surround yourself with people who have that same mindset. And it's not to say that these are the only people that you're going to hang out with, but if you want to enter into that arena of building, of growth, of wealth, you have to surround yourself with people that also have that mindset. And I had to realize that there were certain people that I had in my corner that did not have that stamina, did not have that drive, and most importantly, did not have that sense of self-worth and security. Okay. And this is going to help me move on a tangent really quickly. Is when you're on your self-love journey, I did create a podcast on that from last year, so go check that out. When you're on your self-love journey, you are focusing on building self-worth, self-confidence, courage. And a lot of times, if you're doing that internal work, you're in that season of your life, and people that you are close to, whether that be family, whether that be friends, whether that be romantic partners, if they too are not in that season, there's naturally going to be things that y'all are not going to relate on anymore. And it doesn't mean that they can't be in your life at all. But again, like I said, the proximity to you has to change, and the dynamic has to change, and you really have to get honest. It's a very uncomfortable truth that we have to realize when we are moving into new seasons of our life, that we can't bring certain people with us, right? And it doesn't mean that they can't be in your life at all. But in this season, in this chapter, they have to take a back seat for some time. So getting really honest about where you are in your life, what you need in your life right now, and then having the courage to find those people. Okay, because like I said in the beginning of this episode, you need relationships in life, no matter where you are. If you are a new mom, you need those mom relationships because you need people that you can relate to. That's a relationship, people you can relate to and that you can grow and move through life with, because life is a challenge and it's our relationships that either help us or hinder us. So when you understand that notion of who you surround yourself with will either help you or hinder you, you take your time and you take your energy very serious, and who you surround yourself with very serious, which I definitely think is not something that I've thought about in my younger 20s or in my teen years as much as I've had to think about it now, as I have to show up differently in the world and for myself. Now I have to have certain people. So once you identify where you are in this season and get honest about what you need, and don't be afraid to make a list of who are the people in my life and how is the dynamic of that relationship. Okay, how is the dynamic of that relationship? Do I feel safe in this relationship with the person that I am now? Another thing that we do is, when we've been friends with someone for 15 years, I had to go through a friendship transition with someone that I was friends with for over 20 years, over 10 years, right? Family that I've known my entire life. When we have those long-term relationships where we've known each other for a very long time, we overlook where we are in the present moment with those people because of what we had with them in the past. And when you are evaluating your life, where you are, and the people currently in your life, you always have to evaluate it from the present moment. Okay, because you're no longer in the past and you're no longer that person that you were before. So now you have to get real honest and serious. Who am I now? What are my values? What are my beliefs? What do I want for myself? What do I envision for my future? How do I want my life to feel? And who are the people in my life right now? And how is the dynamic of that relationship? And if there's people that you have on that list that you're like, I want to strengthen that relationship, or I want to see if this is even a relationship that is necessary, go ahead and put in the work. I remember there was one point where I had made a list of the different women in my life that I wanted to reconnect with. Because for me, like when I'm in my winter season, I am in my cocoon state. I do not care to hang out too much, to talk too much. I'm in my introverted cocoon space. Leave me alone. Give me my space. Give me my time. And as I got into the spring season and the summer season, I was like, oh my gosh, who are the women in my life? Where are my friends? Okay. And who are the women that I want to reconnect with? And I made a list of all of the women that I wanted to reconnect with. And I reached out to them. And there were some that it wasn't in alignment anymore, right? And I realized that by spending time, by reaching out. And there were some where I was like, ooh, we're actually developing a relationship. Now, don't be so forceful about it, but just be aware. Who are the people that are in my life? Who are the people that I want to strengthen things with? And who are the people that I don't really feel safe or seen with? Now, the next part of how to get through or move forward from outdated relationships is having certain conversations. And this is the most uncomfortable, in my opinion, part of this segment of relationships, is having to have those uncomfortable conversations. And this is definitely something that my therapist and I have been working through, and I have gotten so much better. I am so proud, okay, of my ability to have those uncomfortable conversations. And I remember I was asking a client, I was talking about this during one of my full moon healing circles that I do with people, during the new moon and the full moon. And her advice was bring them to a calming environment. And that is something that has helped me so much. Or if it's something that I'm doing over the phone, bring myself to a calming environment. So when I have to have weird conversations with people, I'll either go to the park, I'll either go somewhere by the water, right? I'll either bring them to the park, bring them outdoors, because you want the environment to be stable, to be welcoming, because the conversation is uncomfortable. And also, don't be afraid to, especially if you have a therapist, possibly check in with the way that you're going to have the conversation. Make sure, in my opinion, it always has to come from the heart. And it always has to start with I. Never have a conversation with someone about an issue in a relationship or a transition needed in a relationship and you are pointing the finger at them and blaming them. No, that means that you still have more work to do and you still have more digging and just more reflection to do on why you don't feel safe in this relationship, or you don't feel seen, or you feel that this is a relationship that you have outgrown. Always start with the I statement, and come from the heart. Be vulnerable. That's another thing. Be vulnerable. And what I have found that works the best is talk about your needs. Okay? Because the reality is we are in certain relationships based off of our needs in that moment. So if you are in need of something and you are worthy of that need, and this relationship is no longer serving that need, all you have to do is just talk about what your needs are and where you need to now take more action in your life to attract what you need. And this relationship, it doesn't mean that it needs to be a cease and desist forever, but there has to be more space. There has to be more space. And the reason there has to be more space is we all need to evolve. And the reality is we need certain people at certain seasons in our life, and in other seasons we might not need them as close. And by keeping things close for the sake of safety, for the sake of comfort, and for the sake of what you've always known, what feels normal, it stunts our growth. And I've seen this so much in friends, in people I work with. A lot of times, the reason why they are not moving forward the way that they want to is because they're holding on to relationships that are not helping them to evolve. And I am a firm believer that we are here to transform and evolve. Hence why my business is called Hidden Alchemy, right? It's about transforming yourself and evolving into your highest potential. So when we hold on to things that no longer serve us, we really have to ask ourselves, why do we not feel worthy of what we want, of what we need? What are we really afraid of? And a lot of the time, it's afraid of letting go of our comfort. It's afraid of letting go of what feels safe, what feels normal. And it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to acknowledge when a relationship has served its course and now it is time to move forward. And something that I have learned, which I have stated, because I do want to make it very clear, is you don't have to cut everybody off. I used to think that, like, I got to cut this person, I got to cut off, I cut off. And you don't have to cut people off, but you do need space so that you can grow, because you are worthy of evolving. You are worthy of change. You are worthy of transforming. And you will always come back, especially if that relationship was based off of a solid foundation and truth. You will always circle back. It'll always come back in some way, shape, or form. Even if it comes back in a different shape or form, it's always going to come back. So, really learning how to let go of outdated relationships or transition outdated relationships. I like the term transition more because it is a transition, it is a change, and it's an uncomfortable change. And we have to acknowledge the discomfort and be vulnerable with others about how uncomfortable it is for this to change and how it's really all love. I think that's a very important thing, is like it's all love. It's love of self. And also, when we feel that a relationship is no longer serving its purpose, it's love of the other person to say, listen, we are both not giving each other what we need. It is love to let each other go, to let each other grow, and to let each other be. I have found that it works both ways. Don't think that when you have these conversations with people that everybody is going to be happy. No, I've had situations where I've had people stop talking to me, people that I've known for years, simply because I've needed to do something for myself. I've needed more space. I've had people get spiteful with me and get angry. And that's when you really learn who people are, when you let them know what you need, which has nothing to do with them. And that's why I say always come from a place of love, always come from a place of compassion, because it's a reminder to people, because we're very sensitive as human beings and we're very insecure, that it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what I need in my life right now. But keep in mind that when you pull back your energy, especially if you are in a codependent relationship, okay? This is where it really gets uncomfortable. When you are in that codependent relationship and you decide to pull back your energy, do not expect that person on the other side to be happy. It is normal for them to feel pain, and it is normal for them to be upset, because there is change happening and it's really a death, right? Which has to be grieved. And that leads me into my final section of how to move forward and transition outdated relationships, is you have to grieve the ending of that relationship. You have to grieve the person that you are no longer. And that is why that relationship has to transition. There has to be grief. And that's why being vulnerable is important, because it's letting that person know, this is a hard decision for me, but this is what I need to move forward. This is what I need in order to grow. And you have to grieve the fact that you are no longer that person that you were. And in reality, if we could all just live a life of comfort and ease, we would choose that. But life throws us things so that we can grow, so that we can change and evolve. And we have to grieve the death of a relationship so that that relationship can take a new form. So there's so much optimism when we transition relationships. I know a lot of times people are just like, let them go. You don't need them. And that is a duality. That is very true. But it's also the opportunity of, who knows what can happen. I go on my journey, you go on your journey, and we might link back up at some point. Who knows? Right? But the change is needed. The transition is needed so that growth and evolution can take its shape. So thank y'all so much for listening in on this vulnerable topic. It is not an easy topic. I feel like we don't talk about the pain that comes with friendship breakups. We usually only talk about the pain that comes with romantic breakups, but there's so much grief that comes with friendship breakups, that come with family breakups. Okay, these are things I'm speaking from a place of wisdom and from a place of experience. I've had to do this with friends, I've had to do this with family, I had to do this with partners. Like, there's so much discomfort that comes in this segment of our life, but it's something that we can never get away from, never grow away from, because relationships will always be a part of life. But there are ways that we can move with more compassion and more ease and come from the heart. And I feel like for me in my past, the reason why I would just ghost or I would just run away is because I never knew the right way to communicate what was going on internally. And I realize now that honesty is always the best policy, because it helps you to be free and it helps that other person to be free. And when we run away from uncomfortable conversations, that's when the breakups become more tragic and become more traumatic and hostile, because we didn't deal with the elephant in the room when it was there. Okay, so hold space for yourself. If you are out there going through relationships transitions, it is not easy. Hold space for yourself, find community, talk to people, talk it out, grieve it out. But there is always light at the end of the tunnel when you are allowing yourself to grow and allowing yourself to experience the abundance of life, because there's more people out there that are waiting for you so that y'all can continue on your journey. So please go ahead and let me know if you're listening to this on YouTube. Write it in the comments how your relationship transitions have been for you, what you have learned. If you are listening to this on my podcast, feel free to shoot me a message on hiddenalchemybysade.com. And I cannot wait to see y'all for my next episode.